which is 9 p.m. his time, and they're like, he's going to play a round of golf because it's still light out.
I mean,
like,
it's
9
Cooper
p.m.
Rush worth
his time.
2.5 points.
So it's a
I
whole
would
different
hope
life. Quinn Ewers put up a decent stat line against Arizona State. If he didn't, we have a real problem.
You can say the same thing about Creighton. Okay, they had the one good game against Kansas at home.
When Toast talks about the kicking market, it's like some earth is flat shit. Andy, true or false, this is going to be a dog walking.
Dog walking. This is my dog walking of the day. I think it's going to be very ugly. Dog walking. I think this is going to be ugly.
Hey, get this
It's an entirely different life. We were just talking about Toast. Chris and Lindy didn't know Toast lived in Alaska. They just found that out now. Toast is on a flight back. So we're not doing college basketball today. We went through it last night at midnight. Toast is on a flight back. There's only 2 good power conference games. Toast is on Kansas money line. I like the under in that game for those of you that are looking to bet college basketball. Hope you all had a lovely weekend. I had a good one. Saturday was fun. Made some money. There was a ton of college basketball on. Just a great day for sports. Had some NBA on as well. Yesterday I went 0-2. Whatever. The last few weeks, that's when you're having a winning stretch. It's nice. So you have a losing day. You went 0-2, and it's like, things are still great. I'm gonna need a few of those to bring my energy down. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, let's get this week started off properly. I have 2 open bets at the moment. I'm in the market for more. I'm willing to listen. I don't know about you guys. I was having trouble with this slate. I was making the video last night, and I felt like I was passing on every single game. I just felt like I couldn't really find much. I do like the 2 bets I have open, and we'll talk about it. But as a whole, I found myself passing on a lot of these. First one being Exhibit A. Hawks on the road in Detroit. Is it just me or is the market a little off here? I would have this considering the Pistons are on a back-to-back, considering the Pistons are 2-6 with 0 days rest this year. I would have this one closer to a pick, to be honest. So why was this line 3.5 bought up to 4? I even saw 4.5. Who is buying this Pistons number up? And I'm not trying to take away credit from Detroit. They've playing some pretty good basketball, but I don't understand why this line is 4. Now, the Hawks have had offensive problems as of late, but you know what? They look pretty good against the Pacers the other night. I don't understand the line. So it would be Hawks for me. I didn't bet it because I don't like when I'm that far off market. I would have this one at a pick, honestly. So I don't like when I'm that far off market. It would be Hawks for me, but I didn't actually pull the trigger on it.
Yeah, I threw this out a little bit in the thread. Same
Mandy,
exact.
And I'll go last, okay?
Oh, go ahead. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah. You guys can hear each other, right?
Okay. Yeah, I got him now.
Oh, no, Chris
you can't
cannot
hear
hear
Chris,
Lindy.
leave and come back.
Okay.
Chris is leaving and coming back, Lindy, so you can
Be gone with you. No. Anyway, I feel the exact same way as you do, and this is like textbook when you're somebody who enjoys the game of basketball, and like basketball was my first love, first thing I ever got into sports betting with. I've been in a father-son fantasy basketball league since I was 17 with some of my best friends. 20 years we've had this fantasy basketball league, not to date myself or anything, but I think sometimes you have to just let the computer do its work. I feel exactly the same way that you do, but one thing I've learned the more I've gone into this is it's like you want to try to take some of the recency bias out of play. And everything you're saying is completely right. Again, I feel as though I want to be buying in on the Atlanta side and I still can't pull the trigger on doing it, even though all the data is kind of showing me in that direction. And really the main thing is that I trim off about 1.5 minutes of minutes projections from Cade Cunningham, from Malik Beasley, from a number of these pieces, because you're accounting for the second half of a back-to-back, and they played a competitive game. Generally, if a competitive game isn't played on the front end, I tend to keep the minutes projection around the exact same, but Detroit is one of those teams. They'll push Cade Cunningham to 40-41, and when you see that kind of a number on the front end of the back-to-back, I think you have to kind of devalue that team ever so slightly. And it's not going to show up in the eye test. And you're going to look at it and be like, what's the difference between 35.6 minutes for Cade Cunningham and 33.8? Well, he only played 34 against Chicago, but we've seen him 37, 38 here recently. And I think that that's kind of what's getting me away from pulling the trigger on Atlanta, is that I think on this back-to-back, Detroit's healthier than they might normally be for a regular back-to-back. So I think I don't like the idea of lumping. I think this is pretty clear to most people who see my stuff. I generally am not your trends guy. I'm not going to be the person who's talking about they've done this on the back-to-back in the recent however many, because on-off court numbers change. Jaden Ivey might have been available, and now he's not. There's just so many factors that can change on a day in, day out basis. So I let the computer rip. It's saying Atlanta, but I haven't bet it myself.
If you were to make this line, you agree probably about a pick, right? In this situation,
I would be right around 1. I had this at 1.5 the entire time. I modeled this out a number of times, and obviously 68, 95, 99.7. You're talking about standard deviations away from the mean. I'm not trying to sound smart. It's just simply what it is. As you move out and you have these outcomes, you'll simulate a game and Detroit will win by 5, but that's technically a very strange outcome to me based on where the line is. So obviously I would be interested in the Atlanta side. So as you start to just model out games yourself, or if it becomes something you're interested in, ChatGPT is actually the place that I've kind of like taught myself to redo everything, because I can do it so much quicker than what I used to. I used to have to, have people at my company help me out. Hey, I need to build this. I need to build that. Now you can just build it in ChatGPT. But yeah, you simulate this out 10,000 times. 1.5 is where I would be setting this line.
Yeah, I agree. Chris, are you with us?
I'm on the fence in this game. Cal, you mentioned having 2 open bets. I got 1. So
yeah, it's a tough slate.
I have no play from the last 3 games of the night right now. I'm going to try to find something while we're on the show. I have nothing.
So what I'll contribute here, Cal, is yesterday I was in the same boat. The kind of like take the rest advantage out, of course, right? But Detroit was laying points at home against Chicago, and I was on the wrong side of that earlier this season when Detroit was laying points against Chicago. I think they went into yesterday 2-6 against the spread as a home favorite. You just don't want to lay points with them. Certain times you just don't want to lay points with teams, but they did do a really good job against Chicago yesterday. They did let Chicago hit 19 threes, but they were able to get the win in the cover. Detroit has played a very strong strength of schedule. When I think about Atlanta, I don't think about them being the team that, like, I know that they've been covering, but this is just like a 2-possession game. Do we think that the line is based on what it is because Atlanta is about to continue to go on a slump? They've lost 8 straight games. There's no Jalen Johnson. There's no Bogdanovich because he's probably about to get traded. There's no Clint Capella. Like, do we agree with that at all? I'm not saying that we take Detroit, but I do think that the line is, I guess I would say, a little bit more appropriate to where it should be. I don't think that Atlanta loses this game by 1 point. I think they lose this game by, I can see two possessions. So I guess I would lean a little bit more towards Detroit, even though they're on the second leg of a back-to-back, given the injury concerns for the Atlanta Hawks. And we've talked about them being a fade without Jalen Johnson, one of the reasons why they have lost 8 games in a row.
Yeah, I mean, I maybe that explains it, that they've lost 8 in a row. I personally don't care. They're 3-1 against the spread in their last 4. Like, I don't care if they're losing the game. Are they playing above the market's expectations or not? That's what I'm looking at, and they are. Betting the Hawks has been more profitable than betting the Pistons. But all right, prop Ever, I see 2 graphics under your face.
I like this game quite a bit. I got 2 props here. First one is a plus money center assist over. We've been cashing out.
Oh, of course it is.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
We've
my
been cashing
God.
out on these centers
guy.
assist over. I'm back to it.
Oh,
We're going with Ike Okongwu here. Going over.
Of course you are.
Going over 2.5 assists.
The Rudy Gobert of the Atlanta Hawks.
Some would call him that. I'm glad you said it before I did. You beat me
welcome.
to it.
Keep going.
Okongwu's surging in the dimes department right now since joining that starting lineup. He's over his last 5 of 6 with Trae Young. He's averaging 3.3 assists per game on 6.2 potentials. And with 5+ potential assists, Icky's over 18 of 20 career games, averaging 3.7 assists per game, including 100% of which games this season. He's averaging 4.4 assists per game. So to get this at plus money, I think is some really nice value here. On top of that, we've seen Okongwu cash his back-to-back matchups against Detroit. He had 7 and 4 potential assists in those games. In the last 12 of 18 centers to face them have now gone over their assist mark, including 6 straight. Gonna take my chances there at the plus money. I don't know what it is about these teams allowing centers to go over their assist mark, but I've noticed that a lot of teams are allowing centers to do so this year. So gonna keep taking advantage of that market. And then Toby Harris. Yeah, he burned us a few weeks ago, and a lot of people, they like to put people on the banned list. We only saved the banned list for Will Levis. He's a real shitbird, but we're going back to Toby Harris here. He had a heinous stretch where he managed to go under 8 of 10 games. He averaged just a 14% usage, 9.5 field goal attempts, but we're starting to see him come out extra aggressive by Tobias Harris standards, and he's cashed in 3 straight games. Last 3 games, 17 points per game, 21% usage, 15 field goal attempts, and he's already been a cash cow at home. He's cashed his last 8 of 10 at home. He's averaging 17 points per game. The usage has been 16% plus, and when his usage is 16% plus at home, he's over his last 11 to 13 this season. Now going to face a Hawks defense that really plays into his play style. They're bottom 10 in transition defense, bottom 10 in restricted area defense. If you look at Toby at home in these spots, 6-3 versus bottom 15 transition defenses, 7-3 at home versus bottom 10 restricted area defenses. Add in the fact that my friend Toby has some excellent history at home against these Hawks, cashing line the last 6 or 7 meetings, averaging 20 points per game, and the lone wing defender that really scares me, Jalen Johnson, remains off the court. I think this is a must play for me at that low vig that we're catching on FanDuel. So those are my 2 plays for this one. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one.
A must play.
The must play. Tobias Harris, a must play. You never thought you'd hear the words.
I do have this positive EV, so I will not make fun of you. I have it.
There we go.
So, yeah. So I've got him at 15.3. But again, does that beat out the VIG? I don't know. Yeah, it probably does. Probably pretty close. Congratulations, Prop Beaver. I don't hate you today.
A Congo over assist. What's next? We're going to do Tom Thibodeau over assist?
I can't wait.
No, I think me and Lindy are actually... Me and Lindy are actually in the same bet in this game, so he can't make fun of us.
There's unnecessary shot at Tibbs. He can't
So here's
facilitate.
the thing. Tom Thibodeau in Minnesota did not work because there weren't enough people in the stands relative to how many people there are at MSG. You don't hear his yelling as much in MSG. Oh, my God. Listening to him for years for my Timberwolves on the broadcast was actual torture.
Oh,
It's
come
actual
on.
torture. It's probably the way it is some people have listening to my voice on this show.
I like when Lindy says my Timberwolves. Like, I like when he reps Minnesota. Sometimes he hides from it. I like when he reps it.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah, dude. I really enjoyed listening to you want to take the Twins and not. That was fun during baseball season. I'm looking forward to that this spring. So Wizards, Hornets. I mean, tough to really get a feel. I mean, what was that we just saw from the Wizards? Because so they won. Obviously, they won the game against Minnesota. They had great defensive numbers in the game. So obviously, I'm like, there's no way the Wizards play good defense. Minnesota had to have missed open looks. I looked, and that wasn't the case. Minnesota, I didn't watch the game, so I couldn't give my take on the game. I didn't watch it, but I looked, and Minnesota actually shot well when it came to their open shots. So look, there was no Anthony Edwards. There was no Julius Randle. I'm not throwing the Wizards a parade. I will say, from what I can see on paper, it looked like the Wizards did play a good defensive game. Mm-hmm. So are we buying the Wizards defense? Are we buying the Wizards defense here? I said on YouTube under or pass. In the last 8 games, the Wizards have an offensive rating of 97 or 97.8 or something. And then the Hornets without LaMelo, they have an offensive rating like 101, 102. So we're talking about the current state of the Wizards and the current state of the Hornets. We might be talking about 2 of the worst offenses we've seen in recent NBA history right here. Neither team can score at an efficient level. Does Malcolm Brogdon come back? I mean, aren't the Wizards undefeated with Brogdon? He's playing, so maybe Brogdon was the missing piece. There's just way too many moving pieces here. Actually, if I took that under 218 last night, I'd be holding a couple points of value, I guess. But yeah, I don't really want to spend much time on this one. If you guys have anything, go ahead. Jordan Poole's questionable, by the way.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the over 13.5 points here on Jonas Valanciunas. Not going to play it, more than likely. It is the closest I have to a play in this game. I was just torching money because Washington couldn't play a competitive game with Jonas Valanciunas then into that starting role. You saw him up to 30 minutes there with a true big on the other side in Rudy Gobert. And that's the kind of minutes upside I was looking for. Cash to plus 260, double-double on Saturday. It was nice from Jonas Valanciunas. Unfortunately, do you know what the number is now? It is minus 125 best available at FanDuel. So completely needed to be on that on Saturday because now you are running into another projected competitive spot. No Ant. Definitely kind of just, torments me ever looking at Washington as semi-competent, but Charlotte's playing without LaMelo Ball, without Brandon Miller, without legitimately anybody good outside of Mark Williams and potentially Miles Bridges, depending on what version you get on a given day. But Jonas Valanciunas, it's purely a minutes thing because you just take his usage. He's been right around the 24-25% number. The reason I'm not going to play it is I think Kyle Kuzma, we've seen a surge in his usage recently. he basically had some quotes coming out saying that I am going to take over the offense more. Like some of these younger kids, he had said this last week where he basically just said he was going to go out there getting his shots. And he's like, I just had to quit worrying about, trying to do this or do that, or, if I'm going to get moved or not. He goes, I'm just out there trying to play more ball lately. And I think he has been 13 for 24 shot attempts against the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's the kind of stuff you should have been seeing from Kyle Kuzma with a questionable Jordan Poole. Obviously, I think they would make both of them look better in the event that you were in on that play, but I still think it's a little bit thin considering this Wizards team just runs into blowouts way too frequently.
For the record, the reason I didn't place this is just a little worried about the pace. I just wanted to throw that out there.
How many Wizards games do you see with a 217 total?
But the last handful of games, the pace is slowing down for Washington, and we know the Hornets don't run a fast pace without LaMelo. So I know 217 and a half. It's actually 215 and a half now. It seems low, but it's two bad offenses, and if we see a slow-paced game, I guess under.
I think that plays a little bit more towards Jonas Valanciunas' play style, just in the half court. I don't know if people know this, not respected in the transition game, Jonas Valanciunas.
That's a very good point, Lindy. I'm glad you mentioned this. Thank God. So I'm also on the J Val train today. I did take the double-double. I don't mind drinking the minus 120. Obviously, you got obscene value the other day. Congrats on that cash.
Thank you.
I know one of the previous times you did it, he screwed you with the lack of minutes. I'm glad I'm glad he got you the last time out. I think FanDuel, you can still get this at minus 120, minus 125. So I'm still more than happy taking it there. The Wizards, as Kyle mentioned, look like they actually had some goddamn self-respect in their last game. And I think that's a big one here.
They played some defense, bro.
Yeah, it's a big one here for me because without Alexander Sarr on the court, he's 5-2 to a double-double this season. He's averaging 13 points per game, 11 rebounds per game, 25 minutes per game. But in the non-blowouts, the 3 times where the Wizards didn't get their shit kicked in, he's averaging 27.7 minutes per game compared to the blowouts where he's averaging just 23 minutes per game, with just 20-plus minutes a season. J Val's hit a double-double his last 5 or 6 on the road. With 22-plus minutes, he's hit his last 6 or 7 overall. Now he's going to face a Charlotte team that I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you guys have been betting NBA for that long. I know Lindy probably knows this. For some reason, Jonas Valanciunas loves doing unholy things to the Charlotte Hornets team. It's like his bread and butter. This dude just loves destroying the Charlotte Hornets. He's cleared the mark the last 9 to 12 matchups. I like J Val to do some real damage here. And recent centers against Charlotte, when Mark Williams specifically is active, they've just been putting up numbers. We got Jokic with 28 and 13, AD with 42 and 23. Remember that, Kyle? We got low usage Edie with 6 and 7 in 19 minutes, Gafford with 31 and 15, Vooch with 40 and 13. I could go on for days. I just think that there's too much value to pass up and what should be a very competitive game here with LaMelo still missing for Charlotte. I mean, a double-double. Come on, J Val. I know you can't play defense, but offense is still your role. Let's get it done here.
I just like to point out that the Hornets did cover the number.
They did.
Because of the TNT game.
We both attacked each other, but
oh my God.
We lied on the battlefield bloody, handheld, as we died together.
All right, Chris. I know you're a big believer in this Wizards defense now that they've played a good game.
Absolutely am, Cal.
He shot like 45% from 3 in that game.
Oh, you said under?
I said the under was the right play. Yeah, the full game under I think is the right play. I agree with everything you said, Cal. I think there's a little bit of basketball guys just trying to bless the Wizards. They were on like a 74 game losing streak or something like that. I know it was pretty long. Who's counting once it gets past like 15, right? But this is what they had to have happen. Julius Randle get ruled out. Anthony Edwards get ruled out with an illness. Naz Reid to go to the locker room and never come back. You're already, like it was like, granted, I give them credit. Like you said, they played some pretty good defense and Brogdon came back, which helped a lot, but they still had a lot that had to go right. When you look at Charlotte defensively, it's still top 5 defensive team over the last 5 games. Without LaMelo, they are 1-14 straight up, which is why I can't lay points, but they're also 10-5 to the under. Those games are averaging 207 points without LaMelo. And Micic is also listed as questionable. Yeah. Like he rolled his ankle in the last game. So, I mean, we're talking about a game that might finish like 84 to 86. And Kyle, to your point, you mentioned Washington playing a little bit slower. Full season, top 5 in pace. Last 5 games, for whatever reason, 12th in pace. So, yeah, I think this one could be a Charlotte, held Dallas to like Denver to like 107 to 110 or something like that. So all of their games without LaMelo, all of those secondary defenders that come in like Diabate and those guys are all like fighting for their NBA lives because they know that they're probably not going to be on a roster next year. So it'd be under nothing for me. But like you said, we done missed the best of the number. This opened at 219.
Let's get to the next game, which is first one I actually do have a bet on. It's Houston, New York in Madison Square Garden. Got some injuries here. We got no steady Freddie. Fred VanVleet is not going to be playing in this game. Also, Şengün is listed as questionable. No Landell as well, but that's a positive. If you've seen, oh my God, dude, I bet on the Rockets when a game when Şengün was out recently. He's a tough watch, Landale. So no Landale. On the Knicks side, no OG Anunoby. Good news for Knicks fans. It doesn't look like it's serious, but he won't be playing tonight. None of that really affects. Like, I'm on the over either way. I got it at 222.5 last night. Think it's a great bet. I know that these aren't two of the faster paced teams in the NBA, and that's kind of my enemy here in cashing this ticket is the pace. But as far as offense versus defense, I think both of these units are going to score at a high rate. And if they don't score, they're going to get an offensive rebound and score on the second chance. Both of these teams, very good offensive rebounding teams, both struggling on the defensive end. So I think we're going to see points on most possessions in this one. Houston's defense, it's not really being talked about because the success is there. I mean, I think they're like 7-1 in their last 8 road games or something. So Houston's winning. They look good. And a lot of times when a team looks good, you don't really talk about where they're struggling. But Houston's defense since Jabari Smith went down is not looking all that great. They have a defensive rating of like 116, 117 in the last 14, 15 games. Since Jabari Smith went down, Houston's defense doesn't look all that good. They're scoring. They're winning. Team looks great. But the defense doesn't look all that great. And we're talking about a Knicks team that's kind of, you can kind of hit them with the same criticism. The Knicks are scoring at a higher rate than any team in the NBA. You could probably make an argument the Knicks have the hottest offense in the league over the last month. But defensively, the Knicks aren't anything to write home about. And then you add into the fact that you're missing VanVleet and OG Anunoby. Yeah, okay, VanVleet can score. You're missing a shooter, a scorer, but both key defensive pieces, too. So two struggling defenses missing key defensive pieces. Offensive rebound should be all over the place. Just think we're going to see a lot of scoring. I like this bet. 222.5. I got it. What's it at now? 224. So, yeah, got a 1.5 CLV there. I'm on the over.
Okay. I don't completely hate it. I'll play devil's advocate for 2 seconds because this is a game that I spent way too much time on yesterday for something that I don't have a play from.
Oh, 1 second. Can you switch their names, Prop Beaver? Can you?
I'm so sorry. What happened?
Can you switch Lindy to the right side? And
Oh, yeah. Damn, what happened here?
Honestly, I mean, I would be a great Chris. He would be a great Lindy.
Yeah.
So. I'll be a Doug.
So you're saying devil's advocate, but you say you don't hate the over?
I don't hate the over, but I spent a lot of time on this game purely because Houston, I saw the same thing you did. Over the course of the last 15 games, 115.5 defensive rating. That's 7th worst in the NBA. So, I mean, there's definitely that. But here's your devil's advocate portion of it. Look at the schedule. They played Memphis. They played Atlanta. They played Boston. They played Memphis 3 times within their last 15 games. They played Denver. They played Cleveland twice within those games. We're talking the number 1 and number 2 offensive rated teams in the National Basketball Association.
Aren't the Knicks
We're talking
3?
Memphis, the highest pace in the entire. So that's almost half of the sample size that we're looking at. That's an anomaly because, yeah, come playoff time, that's going to be something that matters. But for a random game going up against the Knicks in Monday, February 3rd, I don't think I'm as concerned about their defense as what you might be, just purely because I think the matchups haven't exactly been kind to them over the course of the last few. That's one of the things to always kind of keep in mind as you're working through it. And if you see something presented as last 10, last 15, who did they play? Because sometimes you just run into a tough stretch of basketball. And I think that that's definitely what we had for Houston. And you drop a guy like Jabari Smith, good enough defender. Tari Eason is starting to get those minutes ramped back up. I've got him as a 96th percentile defender in the NBA. I think he's exceptional on that side of the floor. And we've seen him close a lot of times for Houston as a result. For me, it's going to be Houston money line or pass. And just because there's some type of value there, I look at the adjusted net ratings on dunks and threes, and I kind of side-by-side teams and kind of see what one team is excelling at, what one team's poor at. And you take OG Anunoby off the floor and you put Precious Achiuwa in there. I think there's a world where I still am interested in Josh Hart rebounds, but it's starting to get dicey because I think I'd prefer McBride by a massive margin between the two. what is it? 16.4% total rebound percentage on the season for Precious Achiuwa. I have him in for 24 minutes right now, pretty much lowballing that. And I think McBride can play himself into a closing unit as well by knocking down shots. I'm just a little bit uncomfortable with everything in this basketball game. And when that's the case, there's just enough basketball that I don't have to force something that feels a little bit thin, but I like the idea of getting anything better than plus 180 if you can on the Houston money line side of things. I'm trying to see where the numbers are updated at because I had it's up to plus 200 now, plus 210. Man, I'm probably going to have to end up firing that when it's all said and done.
So I agree, and I did see them the last 10, they're second in strength of schedule. No question, what you're saying is correct. If we're referring strictly to the offenses, though, I think you could throw the Knicks right in there with those teams. Yeah. I mean, offensively,
they're incredible.
They've been excellent.
100% agree.
Maybe not the pace of a Memphis or a Denver, but in terms of just offensive efficiency, I think the Knicks belong in that conversation right now.
I definitely lean the over with you.
And I actually lean Houston as well. So
I'm terrified that I might have to actually play that as that number goes up.
Chris?
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. It'd be Houston plus the points. I think I like Houston plus the points a little bit more than the over, Cal, but I agree with you. And I thought you were going to go into your whole little bag of play types. You always talk about pick and roll, offense versus defense and all that good stuff. Because you have a lot of great points here, Cal. I was looking into that yesterday myself, but I was just more wary of the injury report, not sure who was going to play. I kind of predicted that OG probably wouldn't play just because Tibbs likes to hold, everything close to his vest. But it's interesting to see what happens with Sengun too, because they're on both teams on the first leg of a back-to-back. You got the Brooklyn Nets tomorrow if you're Houston with some quick revenge after losing to them on Saturday. So I don't think Sengun's probably going to play in both of those games as we get close to the injury report. But if he plays in this game, I like Houston. I think that I've been burned by Houston, catching points. Cal, you just won your Memphis bet and took the belt last week.
Damn right.
And Houston, this is Houston's role, right? As a dog this season, they're 9-5 against the number, and as a road dog, they're 7-2 against the number. So no OG Anunoby. I still think that Karl Anthony Towns is struggling a little bit with that finger injury. I haven't seen him hit 2 3-pointers or more since he's been back. So yeah, I think Houston losing the way that they lost. Knicks also losing the way that they lost, but Houston losing the way that they lost to Brooklyn. I know Fred VanVleet left the game, but you can't lose to Brooklyn by double digits at home, laying double digits. So I'll lean a little bit more towards Houston, but I didn't play the game, and I do agree with you on the over too, Kyle. I just didn't play that one either.
Seems like we're all feeling similarly because I was leaning Rockets as well. I actually was considering Houston team total over as well. So let's move on.
Thompson versus Brunson in the Garden. Let's go. I mean, come on, man. This is going to be so fun. I can't wait to watch this game.
Brunson's going to have 14 free throw attempts. Spurs, Memphis. A lot of moving pieces in this one. So John Morant's been officially ruled out, right? Oh, no, questionable still.
Questionable.
Bane is out.
Yeah, Bane. Okay, yeah. Yes, Bane has been ruled out. We got Wembanyama questionable. De'Aaron Fox listed as doubtful. Obviously, as I'm sure a lot of people are going to say about this one, didn't spend a ton of time on it. A ton of moving pieces. I will say, I don't know how Sacramento. I will say, I expect the Spurs defense to come back around at some point, but until I see it, I don't think I can really trust it. If you remember, and you've probably heard me say this 2 or 3 times already, so I won't go into it. Spurs were playing great defense most of the season. Jeremy Sohan gets hurt. Defense falls off a cliff. Now Jeremy Sohan's back, and we're like, okay, is that Spurs defense coming back around? I'm going to need to see it first. And with the moving pieces, I can't place a bet on this game and have any sort of expected positive value on it. It's just a pass. I have no idea, to be honest.
So the line is insane in this one. I think this is the most insane line that I've been tracking all day. Last night when I recorded and when I, get a majority of my bets down because I'm trying to, just solidify CLV wherever I can, where I think I just disagree with the market. Plus 225 was available in the Spurs money line. Plus 225. It is at plus 130 right now. This is screaming to me. Ja sits and Wemby plays. This is a Memphis team that just played in Milwaukee yesterday, played a competitive game towards the very end of it, and now is playing without Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., awesome performance there, but I feel like this line is just yelling that Ja's going to sit again with his shoulder issue and Wemby is somehow going to be playing through this illness, and I don't know, it's almost like flip-flop to the portion where it's like, well, now I'd be looking at Memphis money line, and again, I hope people understand it's not like you need to have this firm take and that it needs to be, I know basketball and throw it out there. It's a numbers thing, and when it flagged yesterday for me, it's like, well, San Antonio, this is obviously value if you get Wemby playing, but he's such a big moving part. It's going to swing the line 30, 40 cents from a money line perspective because of how valuable he is to this Spurs defense, and not to even speak about his offense. So it's such a weird spot for me. Yeah, last night when I recorded plus 225 at FanDuel San Antonio, I'm very mad I don't have that money in my pocket because I could just middle this, make a profit, and move on with my life. But I would be looking at laying the points with the Memphis side here and just hoping that John Morant played at this point in time because this number's come crashing down in a way I don't agree with. Somehow also the Spurs didn't have to trade off any piece in the De'Aaron Fox deal. Like Stephon Castle's still there. Keldon Johnson's still there. How they pulled that off, I don't understand what is going on in the NBA right now.
So while we were talking at 4:09 p.m., so 22 minutes ago, Circa actually dropped this to 2.5 now. So this line is continuing to drop.
I mean, it's so annoying. It's so annoying.
Why don't we just wait and play Memphis at a pick, a tip?
Yeah, honestly, that's kind of where we're trending because, again, the line is just screaming that Wemby's in. Memphis is going to have Ja sit. There's nothing else that is telling me. You don't have it drop 70 cents, 80 cents. Like, this is just an absurd amount of line movement for two pieces of pending questionable news that we have.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like we saw a starting pitching change or something.
That's the best analogy for it. Well done by you.
It's they took Corbin out.
Exactly. And now we're Bailey Falter. He's out there throwing just softballs in Pittsburgh. By the way, I want this on the record. The best Cy Young pick is currently not available to bet right now. I just want to throw this out there. Pittsburgh is going to have the top 3 pitchers, top 3 of the top 15 pitchers in baseball. I think Skeens will be one. I think Jared Jones has a chance to be pretty good, but I did a pretty deep dive. I'm going like team by team. This Bubba character that they have in AAA is absurd. His fastball is already better than I just want to talk baseball. Can you tell?
Bubba doesn't sound like Tobias Myers.
Bubba Chandler. I'll keep an eye on
Bubba Chandler is a god. I'm obsessed with this dude already. I need him to get called up opening weekend, and you will pin this and you'll remember the day that I brought up Bubba Chandler. I'm obsessed with this kid. He is going to be insane. 0.92 whip at AAA last season. Didn't even really have a good off-speed pitch and worked on it all off-season. He could be filthy.
All right. Bubba Chandler, keep an eye on it. Chris, anything in this game?
Nah, we can skip it.
Yeah.
It was just too many moving parts, like you said last night. I have no interest. I will say this, just so people know. For whatever reason, they played twice this season. San Antonio has lost both of those games, and the Grizzlies are really good with the rest disadvantage. And it's probably just because they're so deep as a team. 10-1 with the rest disadvantage against the spread, and 6-1 when they're playing unrested on the second leg of back-to-back. So just something to put in your back pocket if you do like Memphis here.
Is the next one Minnesota, right?
Yes, it is Minnesota.
I'll be very quick on this one. When it comes to the Kings, it's kind of hard to unsee the complete lack of defense that's being played for whatever reason. And it's crazy because you rewind like 2.5, 3 weeks ago, Kings actually had 5 or 6 games in a row. I believe they were 6-0, 5-1 against the spread, something like that. They were playing defense. It looked like the Kings were coming together. Since then, we've seen the Kings defense drop like a stone. I mean, I believe in the last 5 games, this is the worst defense in the NBA. Until the Kings show us any sort of life on the defensive side of the ball, in my opinion, you just can't place a bet on them. So if I was to bet this game, I know it sounds crazy with the current state of the Minnesota Timberwolves, especially what they showed us in the last game against Washington. But if you tell me I'm going to get Anthony Edwards and Naz Reid, which is an if because we don't even know, I would go Minnesota team total over here if they play. But that's if because they're both listed as questionable. Last night, Anthony Edwards was listed as probable, and now it's questionable. So who knows? He didn't play against Washington. It's not something...
Both of them did.
He did go through shoot around, I think. I think.
Okay, so I mean, if I get both of them, I mean, I think it was
112.5
or 111.5 last night when I looked. If I get both those guys,
it's 112 right now.
112. So if I get both those guys, I honestly think I'd be down to add this Minnesota team total over. I know that they played like shit offensively against the Wizards. The 2 games before that, they played the Suns and the Jazz. They had an offensive rating like 135. So It was just, if you take a step back and look at the grand scheme of things, it was one bad offensive data point. As a whole, since DiVincenzo got hurt, Minnesota's actually been okay offensively. We didn't see like a huge drop off. They've had some good games in there. So against this Kings defense that's been playing rock motherfucking bottom, I think as long as Anthony Edwards and Naz Reid are out there, I think Minnesota should have no problem scoring points. So it'll be Minnesota team total over if it's confirmed that those guys are going to be out there.
Yeah, good thing they wouldn't got Levine, a noted defensive stopper, to go help them out in that department.
Yeah.
NBA is so dumb sometimes. Some teams are just so dumb. You had Halliburton and Fox. You could have just turned the Turbo Jets on and just said, here we go, all in. We're going to score 140 a game and try to do it that way. But nope, we had to try to overthink it. Not that Sabonis is bad by any means, but now you're just kind of like stuck with him on an island. He's not a great rim stopper come the postseason. I just don't know what you're doing.
They recreated the same exact Bulls team. It's like you switch out Vooch for Sabonis, you switch out Kobe White for they recreated the same freaking team.
It's unbelievable. It's actually unbelievable. This was the game that I jumped on in. This was by far my favorite bet of the day. It was Malik Monk over 6.5 assists, -120 last night. It's like -168, best available at 6.5. It's 7.5 now. So again, I feel bad bringing that one up. But on the flip side, I had Sabonis for a smaller play because I was like, it's one of those where these are the two guys that until you get Levine in there that are going to be doing everything offensively. Malik Monk, though, is north of a 32% assist rate with Fox off the floor this season, 460-minute sample size, 500-minute sample size for Sabonis on the floor, 27% assist rate. However, I do think you have to project him about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes higher than that of Malik Monk. One, the center position and his value to this basketball team, but the other one is Devin Carter is playing minutes here for the Sacramento team. I think we'll only see that come up here. The pretty noted rookie that got a late start on his season this year, but we'll see him intertwined a little bit more. It's probably Sabonis, 6.5 assists now, where that number is flipped to. So I got some reverse CLV, the bad kind, on my smaller play Sabonis. So over 6.5 assists is where that is currently sitting at, as opposed to Monk, who's now up to 7.5, would just be a pass for me there.
So okay, Sabonis over 7.5 is 6.5 assists.
Over
got
6.5.
All right, cool.
Yep. It went against me, and it should have, but I wanted to have a small play on that as kind of an insurance policy over Monk just getting the ball ripped out of his hands for a day against Gobert, but we'll see.
Chris, do you have any thoughts on this game? And then it looks like Prop Beaver has something for us too.
They're the same as yours, Cal. I said the same exact thing. All the moving parts with Sacramento, their defense, like you said, is really non-existent. So I would want those guys in, and I probably would even like if it moves very quickly, Cal. Like when those guys get rolled in, let's say Naz Reid and Anthony Edwards both play. Unless you're like looking at your phone, you're probably not going to get a 112.5 because it's going to move to 113, right? I would be willing to take the 113.5 as well. You look at San Antonio. I mean, you look at the Sacramento defense, and boy, you mentioned it being bad. Like if you put the numbers to it, it's really bad. 27th in defensive rating. They're giving up 125 points per 100 possessions over their last 5 games. And you mentioned it, Kyle. That game did not have Anthony Edwards in it. Did not have Naz Reid in it. For a large part, and no Julius Randle. So I think they'll be able to get back into scoring. Also, I'll mention this real quick as well. For Sacramento in this spot, last of a 6-game road trip. 6-game road trip. Teams playing the last of a 6-game road trip this season are 1-5 against the number, 5-0-1 to the over as well. Each one of their opponents have gone up and over their team total because this is just a spot where you don't play defense. You really don't play defense in this spot. So I think all but one of their opponents have actually gone up and over their total, which leads me to this. Anthony Edwards didn't place this one yet, but open over his 3-point prop. When you look at where the Kings have been porous defensively, that's where it's been. Anthony Edwards, this guy, I mean, the Kings are 25th in opponent 3-point accuracy over the last 5 games. Teams are shooting 40%. And we know Anthony Edwards is chucking. I think he's still leading the league in 3-pointers made. He's already hit 4, 5, and 6 against them so far this season. I think without Julius Randle, we'll just see more volume. Top of the key, above the break threes for Anthony Edwards. I like him up and over 3.5 threes as well.
All right, Prop Beaver, what do you got for us?
Yeah, in this game, I like Keegan Murray to go over his total. It's been a pretty disappointing season for Keegan Murray. I believe it's 3rd season, and honestly, the production has not been there. Usage has not been there since DeMar DeRozan has joined the offense. I mean, it's pretty clear that he's the last option in this offense. But Now I actually like him to contribute a bit here. If you look at the matchup, the real only area the Timberwolves defense has performed at a high level, if you look at the last 5 games, has been protecting the rim. Keegan Murray's attacking the rim at a significantly lower rate than he has in the past. Just 21% of his shots coming at the rim here. And there's no De'Aaron Fox on the floor, as we've mentioned. I mean, this is a total he's gone over his last 6 to 7 games without Fox, going back to last season. Even without Fox this season, 2-1 to the total. He's had 10-plus field goal attempts in all of those games. If you look at Murray this season with 10-plus field goal attempts, he's over in 69% of his games. He's averaging 14.3 points per game. What's up with that, Mr. Lindy? I heard you go,
69%.
Oh, Jesus Christ, dude. Put a tarp over you and shoot you. And then on top of that, we've got Keegan Murray, who in his last 5 games against the Timberwolves, he only had 8 in his last performance, but look at the previous 4, 14, 23, 17, and 20 points. He had 15, 17, 15, and 16 field goal attempts in those games, getting plenty of volume. And I think the real icing on the cake for us here is look at how the Timberwolves are guarding the power forward position as of lately. They're getting absolutely murked. Kyle Kuzma with 31. The bum that is Kyle Kuzma, let me emphasize. John Collins, 16. Kevin Durant, 33. Aaron Gordon, 13. PJ Washington, 30. Jaren Jackson Jr., 24. Jaden McDaniels is going to be all over DeMar DeRozan in this one, and I think he's going to catch some of that nice, easier coverage here, some open looks on the outside. So really like Keegan Murray here at the plus price. I took the plus price on FanDuel, but if you want to drink a little bit of that juice, you can get the 11.5 at -120.
Drink a little bit of that juice. What are we actually doing?
Drink a little bit of
put a
that
tarp
juice.
over me and shoot me, by the way.
Yeah.
Also,
He
I
loves
can't wait to be back
tarp-
next Monday.
Tarp him and
Love
shoot
it.
him is Prop Beaver's favorite phrase. He says all the time.
I didn't know. Well, now I do.
Now you know.
And I'll be one of them.
Tarp me and shoot me, he says.
I'm here for this one too.
Jeezel.
All right, so this line is now like 15 because of all the injury updates that we've seen from Milwaukee blowing up our Twitter feeds in the last hour or so. In case you haven't seen it, Lillard's been ruled out. Middleton's been ruled out. Giannis has been ruled out. Portis is doubtful. Brook Lopez is questionable. So the Bucks are out. That being said, Oklahoma City is not healthy either. No Caruso. We thought there was a chance he was coming back. Nope. No Wallace. No Jalen Williams. So the Oklahoma City's not healthy either. To be honest, at this new number, you can just put a Bucks.
Okay.
For me, dude, we've seen. Oklahoma City is obviously like the top dog now, right? They're the 1 seed. They're starting to do 1 seed type shit. We're seeing them play with their food. We're seeing them lose to Dallas with no Luka, no Lively. We're seeing Portland play them down to a 10-point game. We're seeing the Jazz play them to a single-digit game. We're seeing Oklahoma City start to do 1 seed shit, which is play with your food. The things we see the Celtics doing a lot of. Not criticizing for it. Just observing what I'm seeing. I don't know if Oklahoma City... Remember last year? Chris will remember. Last year was like, oh, doesn't matter. Oklahoma City could be laying 12. Doesn't matter. Lay it because they beat the shit out of everyone. That's not this year's Oklahoma City. They're 2-5 against the spread in their last 7, I think. I believe it's 2-5. They're not covering these big numbers this year like they were last year, or at least not lately. So we're seeing Oklahoma City punting a little bit, doing the 1 seed shit where they're not pummeling these games. And you know what? We talk about it when you get these games where all the main pieces are out. You're seeing guys see minutes they don't normally see. You're seeing 100% effort. These guys are playing for minutes in the rotation. They're playing for contracts. So the guys for the Bucks that are going to be seeing the floor, you're going to be, this is their Super Bowl. So I think we're going to see a max effort from the Bucks against an Oklahoma City team that keeps playing with their food. At 15, I'm not opposed to just grabbing the points and saying I'll take the team that I know for a fact we're going to see 100% effort from. Any thoughts on that?
So at Eric Lindquist, I'll just use this as my time to bring up Odd Shopper and where I'm from and everything. Follow me at Eric Lindquist. Something I've been doing more is showing my work more than just like going into the video form here on YouTube and trying to like really dive into the data that we have. Again, we're a data company. We might as well utilize it to the best of our abilities. And then also just talking through betting scenarios. And one thing that I thought was really fun was breaking down this game, Milwaukee, Oklahoma City. And I said, there's multiple ways to go about betting. And I ended up getting Oklahoma City -8.5 because I was pretty convinced that this was just a blatant punt game. And
bingo, Lindy, me
with
too.
Thursday coming up, and I broke it all down so you can see all of the work. I ended up posting that at 11:26 p.m. last night. up until the wee hours. So trying to put out the best data that I possibly can. So give me a follow over there at Eric Lindquist, trying to do more of that, because I think that can help you be more actionable in betting. And I think now I have a great opportunity. If I want to middle it, which is kind of what I would want to throw up there, we throw up Milwaukee plus 16. I think that would be kind of the number that I'm looking at. 15.5. I see a 16 at Bet365 right now. Am I wrong about that at minus 110? So I think that there's a 16 that is available.
Fanatics says 16. ESPN bet is 16.5.
Yeah,
shit, I might
these
bet
are the
that.
nice. And now the world's
You
kind
may
of
get
like
a
my
17.
oyster.
You may get a
I've got minus
17.
8.5. I could have an unbelievable middle here, and I do have some concerns. No Jalen Williams, obviously. He is very good at the game of basketball. Milwaukee played yesterday, so they're on the back-to-back. I don't think Brook Lopez plays. We have Bobby Portis, who's already doubtful. We already got Giannis and Lillard and Middleton out. So the Middleton one, I said, it just kind of like, it just really stood out to me in a pretty prominent way. They started Rollins, Jackson, Middleton, Portis, Lopez. It was December 21st, the last time that they full punted without Lillard and Giannis. And now I'm getting even more pieces out. I know it's a little bit dicey, but you're talking about like range of outcomes. And, obviously I got this at minus 110 on the 8.5. I would like to be getting 16.5 somewhere in that comparable type of juice. And you've got a really nice window of range of outcomes where I could really, I really love middling as much as I humanly possibly can. Sometimes it catches you by surprise where, you get everything, like the news completely breaks your way, and then it just plays to a ridiculous game script. That happened with Boston going up against the Clippers in a spot where I thought the Clippers were fully going to punt that game. They did. They ended up almost losing in overtime to the G League Clippers squad. But you can't look at one game and kind of like let that highlight. So all of this is my way of saying that now at this new number, 16.5 now is available to us too. I would have to be looking at buying in on that side of it, having 8.5 to 16.5. That's a huge window. It's a gigantic window for a middle.
Yeah, OKC minus 8.5 would be a great ticket to be holding. Someone saying, how could you bet on the Bucks with nobody? It's like, are you not following the Oklahoma City Thunder? Let me just read off a couple of their games recently. They played Dallas with no Luka and Lively, lost outright. They played the Jazz, won by 9. Played Dallas again with no Luka and Lively, lost outright. They played the Blazers, won by 10. They played Golden State, who's been ass, lost. I mean, they're not covering the number. If you've been betting Oklahoma City, you're getting crushed. They're 2-5 against the number in their last 7. People will just lose the same bet over and over again and be like, how could you bet against this? Like, dude, you're getting cleaned out.
Also, I just want to say the Bucks used to do this all the time with Budenholzer back in the day, and they would cover all the time. I mean, it was the guy, Jordan Nwora, used to go ballistic in those games. Yes, he used to always
Marion Mochamp is still there. Mr.
Dude,
Beauchamp.
I know. Beauchamp's still in the lineup, too. I mean, he could go off. But, yeah, Nwora would score like 17-plus points, and you'd be catching 12-plus points with the Bucks. They would win a lot of these games straight up, nevertheless cover the points. So, I don't think it's the craziest idea if you're going to be catching 16 points in a game where the Thunder are missing 3 key guys, and they really don't give a shit.
They really don't give a shit. The Thunder are missing pieces. They're not winning by this amount. I mean, they're playing terrible teams and not winning by this amount.
Now, I'll follow you. Now, listen, if you don't want to back the Milwaukee Bucks, if you do want to back the Thunder in some way, shape, or form, take a step inside the torture chamber. We cashed a plus 175 threes with him on Saturday. It was sensational. It was beautiful. Some called it the sharpest play of all time. I actually caught myself placing the bet. It was truly a miracle. I did. It hurt. But I like going back to Dort here again. The price has dropped since the injuries were announced, but I still like it quite a bit. I mean, the Bucks defense, they've been quite efficient at defending threes, but they have funneled shots to the three-point line at an unholy rate. We look at the month of January, 3rd in efficiency, but 29th in frequency. And if you're going to give Dort three-point volume at home, then I'm going to have to take him. At least a little bit of action. There's only a half-unit bet for him to hit this mark here. J-Dub, Caruso, Wallace, all questionable here. If you look at Lou Dort without Alex Caruso at home this season, 7-3 to the over, including 5 straight overs. In those last 5 games, 6, 4, 3, 3, and 4 3-pointers made. I mean, he's going absolutely ballistic in this spot. And then on top of that, he's always getting a ton of volume against the Bucks. He's had 6+ 3-point attempts in his last 6 to 7 meetings against Milwaukee. With 6+ 3-point attempts at home, Dort's a guy over in 12 of 14 contests this season, averaging 4 3-pointers made. Last 20 of 24 headed back to last season. the second leg of a back-to-back for the Bucks. Obviously, they're coming off the game against the fast-paced Memphis team. And on top of that, I mean, we're now getting the B squad in terms of their defense. I think we're going to get some open looks for Dort again here. Main priority defensively for this Bucks team is stopping Shai Gilgeous. So, yeah, I'm going right back to Dort here. I mean, plus 140, I think it is, plus 135 for a half unit. The only real concern here is the blowout, but as we've said, I think the Bucks can keep this more competitive than people think. So, yeah, going right back into the torture chamber. Guy's a beast at home.
Someone in the comments said Bucks money line. I'm not. That's a little crazy. I don't even know if they're going to cover the 15.5. I'm just saying it's now at 16. If this game is played 1,000 times, how many of them are Oklahoma City going to win by more than 16? I think it'd be more profitable to take the Bucks long term.
That's the line of thinking I'm here for. That's the good stuff. That is good stuff, sir.
Yeah, I mean that's how you bet. Chris,
I don't have anything else to add. You guys took it all. But yeah, what Lindy said, I thought it was an absolute punt too. The spot for Milwaukee sets up for a major fatigue spot. It was like 4 or 5 games that they played on the road. They came home for 1 game last night against Memphis. And then they go right back on the road. No rest in between. Like 4 road games, come home for 1, leave your bags packed, boom, right back on the plane. Right. The other thing is just the in-season cup revenge. And in no way am I endorsing the minus 15.5. But this was my minus 8.5 ticket last night. You got the cup revenge here. And for whatever reason, they send to play. This is crazy. Like you look into the numbers, they actually have a higher plus minus. They're plus 10 more. They're a plus 18 with Jalen Williams off the floor. They missed Jalen Williams against Sacramento the other day and absolutely steamrolled Sacramento, beat them by 40. So you're right, Cal. They haven't been covering these big numbers, but what do Sacramento and Milwaukee have in common as of late? The defense on the road. Milwaukee is the 25th rated defensive team on the road. They're the 6th best defensive rated team at home. So yeah, I mean, in who got the biggest point differential margin at home? Of course, OKC, they're plus 14.2, which is still not this 15, 16.5. So that was my endorsement for the 8.5, but I'm not playing. I wouldn't dare lay 16.5.
Next. Someone said Crispy changing his picks from his videos. He just said he took Oklahoma City before the injury, so he got Oklahoma City the better number.
And then 7.5 points.
If you go back and watch the video, it's still right there. Like it's put out last night.
And then there's a tweet there, and then you can, go kick rocks. Those are the 2 things.
New Orleans, Denver, and this is one of the ones that I haven't bet that I'm thinking about betting. I guess the market.
Pelicans, don't you?
No. I think it's a perfect spot for Denver to beat up on them. All right. So the Pelicans going back out on the road. Do you not remember the last time the Pelicans went on a road? They went on a 3-game road trip. They lost to Charlotte. They looked like absolute shit. They had a quick 3-game road trip.
Zion didn't play in those games though, right, Kyle?
I think he played in one.
Right?
I think only played in one. But yeah, so they had a 3-game road trip. They looked like shit. Then they come back home for 2 games. They look better. They lost both games, but they did cover. So they look a little more competitive in their last 2 games. Still didn't play any defense. Now they're going back on the road again to Denver against a Nuggets team that needs to get their shit together. They just went 0-5 against the spread in their road trip. And I know, I'm not crazy about betting a team just returning from a road trip. It's usually a spot I don't like to bet. But I don't think this is a Denver team that's getting back from a road trip in high spirits. They almost lost to the Sixers in there. I mean, this could have very easily been a 1-4 road trip for Denver. And they had the day off. I think Denver's going to come out and beat the shit out of them. Not to mention, it seems like everyone's taking the Pelicans here. I didn't bet this one because it's a huge number, and Denver's not playing any fucking defense. I'm not trying to lay 10.5 with a team that isn't playing any defense, but
why don't you take that team total over, Cal?
Because it's like 130.
Well, who cares though? Like the Pelicans not guarding anybody, like you said. There should be a layup line at the rim, right?
It's okay. So yes, I want to bring up the Pelicans' lack of defense. I get it. The Nuggets should score easily. They should get out in transition and score easily. The Pelicans on the season are dead last in defensive efficiency and transition. Should be a beautiful matchup for the Nuggets to score at will. There's no Russell Westbrook. I'm not really sure the impact of that, but the Denver should score easily. I'm just a little, in my opinion, I don't think the Pelicans can keep up, even against a bad Denver defense. So, yeah, I think the Nuggets win this one by margin. I think they get their shit together back at home after that 5-game road trip. I didn't bet it, but I'm open to it.
Yeah. Well, you got the Denver jersey on. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, someone said before, nice Jokic jersey. This is Melo. I just want to be very clear about that.
That's clear cut.
This
I
is
also
Melo,
I want to shout out Mr. Eliason, my AP bio teacher when I was 17. We had a $50 bet. This is like the beginning of era gambling. When I was 17, we had a bet on Melo or LeBron, and I'm pretty positive. So I took LeBron, he took Melo. I'm pretty sure that he got the raw end of that one. Melo had a better rookie season than LeBron. Like, there's just no doubt in my mind. I should never have won that bet, but that's neither here nor there.
I think it's an argument. How about that? I wouldn't say better, but it's an argument for sure.
I've spent a couple of nights that I probably shouldn't have just combing through that data and like lamenting the fact that I actually won that bet.
I've gotten into that debate. Like that and the other debate that like drunken Kyle will argue for hours. The myth that Allen Iverson took a bad team to the NBA Finals. I'll argue that until 6 in the morning.
Eric Snow?
Loaded.
I mean, Eric Snow was a number 2.
Bro, Mutombo was the defensive player of the year. Theo Ratliff led the league in blocks. McKee was sixth man of the year. The team was loaded. Anyway, go on.
Dude, I love... These are the kind of things that we should just like start a podcast talking about stuff like that. Because I could go on like early 2000s nostalgia runs of NBA forever and ever and ever. Yeah, those were back when baseball were still baseball. Those were some bleak years. You just had like David Freese and nothing else. Awful. Freese. But anyway, we've got an interesting one here. I have a ton of interest in this, and there was actually some news that dropped just a second ago that's kind of applicable. Jordan Hawkins is available to play. Daniel Tice is out here on this side. Kind of with you, where I think that you're definitely looking at a blitzkrieg opportunity for Denver, and I think it's more on the defensive side of things. I went through the lineup specifically because I do think that this is like the nut starting lineup that you can run into for the Denver Nuggets. Getting Russell Westbrook off the floor, yeah, it's going to hurt your offense a little bit, but it improves your defense a lot of bit. And when we've seen 15 games earlier this season where the lineup constructions, this is just straight off of the NBA lineups page. We've seen a 1.6 difference in terms of adjusted net rating between the two starting lineups, just having Christian Brown on the floor instead of Russell Westbrook. So yes, it's not going to look as pretty. It's not going to be as hyper-paced, but I think it's better basketball. I think it's going to be helping you win more basketball games, having this construction of a starting 5 out there. They have to kind of do it by default. The other one I'm interested about, if this game, if I'm looking at this line at 10.5 and I'm playing the range of outcomes game, we got to be in on Julian Strother over 9.5 points. He's at minus 115 over on FanDuel. And Peyton Watson's out in addition to Russell Westbrook. This is a very thin Denver Nuggets team as is. And I'm just trying to figure out what to do with the minutes here. And it's really hard for me to get away from giving Julian Strother minutes in the 20s, which just never happens. I think he's kind of your ammunition off the bench, especially now with Aaron Gordon in the starting unit. That's not necessarily his role, and it's good to see Aaron Gordon back starting next to Jokic because I think that needs to be the solidified way he plays a majority of his minutes, not to shoot threes off the bench. Wasn't really working out the way that Mike Malone envisioned, trying to ease Aaron Gordon back into this, but you're going to get more minutes than you think for Julian Strother, I think, in this one. There's really nobody else of note. Hunter Tyson, Trey Alexander, Dario Saric, Jalen Pickett, Zeke Naji, DeAndre Jordan, Spencer Jones, PJ Hall. That is their available bench. I think Julian Strother is like the really sneaky good play here from this one, over 9.5 points. I did add that to my card.
I like that. And also, I didn't even think about the Nuggets defense because when you said that, if you really take a look, when Denver's defense fell off, it's kind of when they went out on the road. So in addition to Russell Westbrook being off, maybe they get back home and start playing some defense. That I kind of like that. You actually I actually might even bet this now.
Yeah, I actually might add that Strother play, Lindy. I really like that. So
the Strother one, I just don't see who else you want to give minutes to on this bench. I mean, otherwise, they don't play tomorrow. So again, that's to speak to Chris's point, always be paying attention to back-to-backs, kind of what those minutes tendencies can be. But my guess is that you're still getting 24, 25 minutes of a kid who that is his literal role on this basketball team anyway, is to be ammunition off the bench. And now you're taking Aaron Gordon, you're putting him into that starting unit. It wasn't really working out for him in that kind of a capacity, but you're talking about a kid who's got a 17% usage, goes up to around 18, 19 without Russell Westbrook off the floor. I just don't see who else you even bring out there other than like Hunter Tyson for try-hard minutes outside of Christian Brown playing, 38-40 here. So if it's going to be non-competitive too, that speaks even better towards Julian Strother's narrative.
Yeah, and also to add to your point, this guy under his last 5 or 6 games, right? He just can't play basketball on the road. I don't know what the hell is wrong with this dude. If you look, he's under his last 8 of 10 on the road. All of a sudden, you filter that to his home games. He's now over his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of 12 at home. And he's averaging well over the total you're getting. I think he's averaging around 12 points per game, maybe 13 points per game here, especially good in those blowouts as well at home, as you were mentioning. So, yeah, I think I'm going to be tailing you on that, Lendy. Very nice find.
He loves the elevation.
Oh, thank you.
What about Chris?
Loves the elevation. Loves it.
Yeah, my thoughts are similar to yours, Kyle. I would want to bet Denver team total up and over though. Like I think Jordan Hawkins pushes the pace a little bit. I know DeJounte Murray's done for the season after I think it was like an Achilles injury that happened on Friday. That scares me a little bit with taking the full game over, thinking that to your point, Kyle, I was looking at it when you just said that Denver before they went back out on that before they went on the road, they had actually covered 3 straight. They were laying 15, 11.5, and 7.5. And then I hear Lindy talk about Westbrook going off the floor and Christian Braun being on the floor and how it helps the defense. So I guess I am leaning a little bit more towards the Pelicans. This was a game that I didn't have a lot of thoughts and opinions on, but after you went, Cal, I was thinking Nuggets team total up and over. And I think that they could get to 130 in this game. When I looked at the Nuggets this season, laying 7.5 or more, the books are expecting them to score. They're 6-1 to the over, averaging 128 points per game. They got the 132. The last time that they were laying 7.5 to the Kings, 144 against the Sixers, 124 against the Nets, and that's a slow-paced Nets team as well. They got to 139 against the Hawks as well. So if we're getting a Pelicans team that's top 5 in pace, top 10 in pace last 5-10 games, it makes sense for Denver to get the 130 here. That's the way I would lean.
Can I add one more thing too? Because I have Zion Williamson over 4.5 assists. I would play it at 5.5 plus money as well. You're getting DeJounte Murray off the floor. We're talking about a 150-minute sample, but 40+% assist percentage. My buddy's like, oh, you're not going to talk about the Zion play. Well, I'll talk about the Zion play. You're fine. Yeah, so there's that. And I got over 4.5. The lines move crazy from the 4.5, but at 5.5 plus money, still okay with it. And you're getting Jose Alvarado out on the floor. He's just a better basketball player this season than what DeJounte Murray was. It's sad, and it's weird to even say that out loud. But one's worth 1.8 estimated win share, one's per 1.5. Jose Alvarado, also a pretty decent shooting season for him so far. DeJounte Murray was first percentile, under 50% true shooting, just brutal year. Got even more brutal with the Achilles injury.
Let's move on to the next one, which is a weird one, in my opinion, when it comes to the Utah Jazz. We're talking Pacers on the road to Utah, by the way. No. Yeah, I feel similarly. I just feel like we're kind of trying to get our bearings here when it comes to this Jazz team. We don't have much data when they have their full lineup out there with John Collins and Marketing and Kessler, a healthy Keontae George, a healthy Collier, we don't have much data with that whole rotation on the floor. And to make it even more strange and more difficult to predict, we've seen 2 games now in a row where the Jazz had their full lineup out there. So we have 2 games where we saw the Jazz best fastball. And what were those data points? They got beat by 40 and they won by 15. So one game was absolutely horrible, and the other one they played pretty well, controlled the game start to finish against the I shouldn't say controlled the game start to finish, but they won by double digits against the Magic, who are pretty terrible. So now that we have I think we should just be collecting data with this Jazz team, and maybe we start to make plays on them when we get a better feel. You guys know I'm always down to bet the Jazz at home, especially as big home dogs. I'm always down to do it, but I don't know. Who wants to step in front of this Indiana team? What are they, 10-2 against the spread in their last 12? 6-0 straight up, 6-0 against the spread in their last 6 on the road. Pacers are kind of a freight train right now. So this is literally a pass across the board. I don't know where this one lands on.
No need for me to go, Kyle, because I echo everything you say. I need more. We talked about this last week with the data. I need more from Jazz.
Yep.
Not only that, I mean, it's basically single game parlay, shorting them and just hoping that the minutes get really spread out and that they don't play a competitive game. Like, that would be the sharp way to go about this, is like single game parlay 4 or 5 unders of ancillary pieces, guys that might get some kind of protection from a blowout. So that being Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler, guys that could potentially be on the trade block for Thursday. But again, I'm not doing it myself.
Yeah.
All right, so Prop Beaver with the only bet of the game here. Hit us with it.
Yeah, so I went to go check how my friend Tyrese Halliburton was doing in the assist column lately for this cupcake matchup, and then I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Buddy's not racking up the assists at all whatsoever. So I was like, all right, who was stealing the assist from him here? And Andrew Nembhard is really carving out a nice role for himself as a secondary playmaker in his offense. If you look in his last 6 tracked games, sometimes they forget to do the potential assists. I don't know what that's about. He's recorded 10 plus potential assists in each of those 6 games. He's averaging 13 potential assists per game. And he's gone over in 4 of those games with 10 plus potential assists this season. Nemby 10-4 to the over. He's averaging 6.3, and over his last 24 of 30, headed back to 2023, averaging 7 assists per game. He specifically, for some reason, has absolutely dominated the West, going over his last 4 or 5 meetings. He's averaging 7 plus assists in these matchups. And what I really like about this matchup versus Utah is the fact that 25% of his assists go to the paint. That is a much higher percentage than most guards, and that's a glaring weakness of this already shitty Utah Jazz defense. At Utah, a haven for assist overs. I got to ride with the surging Nemby here, coming off a game where he just went under the total at 5. I mean, it seems like a beautiful matchup for him to keep it going here.
Nembhard. Next game, and I just wanted to clear, I was not naked in that video. It was blurred out. I was wearing underwear. I don't want anyone to think I go out in the woods to get naked with my friend filming. So I had underwear on for it.
Okay, Kanye and Bianca.
Next up is I bet this game. Is this line still not moved? I'm a little shocked.
3, I think.
It's still 3. I got it at 2.5 last night. I'm on Golden State. I know Golden State hasn't looked good, but plain and simple, the Magic are trash right now. I don't understand the line. So maybe I'm probably playing into one of the more square bets on the board here, taking Golden State. Got it at -2.5 last night. In the last 9 games, Orlando's 1-9 straight up, 1-8 straight up, 1-8 against the spread. They have an offensive rating below 100. They have a defensive rating above 117. Straight up, until Jalen Suggs is back on the floor, and I'm not saying Jalen Suggs fixes everything, but until I see some side of dramatic shift, I'm handicapping Orlando as one of the worst teams in the NBA because that's what they are right now. Now, we know Orlando is not one of the worst teams in the NBA, but right now they are. So until they show me something, under a possession in Golden State, especially when they're getting Draymond Green back, we saw Golden State's defense take a hit after Draymond Green got hurt. Getting him back helps. Not that all of a sudden, Draymond Green's back, Golden State's back. Of course not. But we did see the defense fall off a little bit. So now that Draymond Green's back, by the way, Suggs isn't playing. He was listed as questionable. He's been downgraded to doubtful. So I don't know where the points are coming from for Orlando. Prop Beaver, I believe he said earlier today, I'm done with Banchero. I've had enough.
Oh, dude stinks. Get his sweaty ass off the court, bro.
Sweaty ass. So yeah, I'm on Golden State -2.5. Like I said, probably playing into one of the more square lines on the board. I don't care. I think Golden State wins by multiple possessions.
Yeah, they've really struggled last 5 games. They are second worst in net rating. So just combining offensive rating, defensive rating 114.4. The higher the number, the worse it is. The lower the number, that's what you want in the defensive rating. Opposite with offensive rating, obviously the higher the better. They're at 101. They're second worst on the board next to Washington in both categories. Washington, -18.8 net rating. Orlando, -13.4. They're just struggling big time. The pace is way down. I leaned toward the under of 215 last night. Wish I had played the play there. 210.5 now. Again, hopefully when you're watching my videos, again, this is one of those things where I know how much more prop exposure I'm going to have in a day. And so, again, I'm only going to put the locks as things that I've actually bet and actually put my money on ahead of time. I'll always clarify talking through that. My thing was I always wanted to give like a confidence scale of like, this is what I feel about this. And I thought I'd wake up in the morning and maybe see the public push this one up. Nope, exact opposite. So they're seeing a lot of the same things under 210.5. I definitely not going to be playing that for sure, but kind of missed the boat on it as is. I think Golden State -3 would be my preferred way of going about it. The pieces are so much better than the results here of late. Getting Paulo Banchero back and healthy. It's just kind of a weird road trip to be bringing all of these guys back. I mean, you want them back as soon as possible, but at Miami, at Portland, at Utah, hasn't been pretty here for Paulo Banchero or Franz Wagner. No doubt about it, but they're a lot better than what they put out there. But now they have to deal with Draymond Green, who even in limited minutes today, I think defensively, there's just enough there that I don't want to deal with it.
Chris, I agree with an under, by the way. When I was looking at it, I think it was 213.5. Wish I grabbed it. I'm in the same boat with that. Chris?
Yeah. So I agree with the under. Kyle, this is a game where I thought I would come on and say, this seems like the classical game where I would say, come on and say, Cal, I like, and you say, hold on. I bet I know what you like. You like Orlando. I mean, you like Golden State minus the 2.5, don't you? Minus the 3. And I'd be like, yeah, that like, why wouldn't it hit? And I've been getting absolutely, whenever I take a square play, that goes the total opposite way recently. I had Atlanta the other day. I had the Pacers the other day against Atlanta the other day. They went up by 20. They went up by 20 and I got it early. I got a 5.5. They closed at 10.
Yep.
And I lost by the hook. So it's like, you know what? If I play Golden State, they probably lose by 40. I'll let you have it, Cal. I'm not. It looks way too easy because you're right. Orlando, I want nothing to do with. I watched them get absolutely beat up on, murked by the Utah Jazz the other day, and they had revenge in that game. And they were coming off a loss against Portland. And it's just thing after thing after thing. The only way I would play it is Golden State, but I'm not betting it because this one feels too easy, and those are the plays that I've been getting smoked in.
It's also a good spot for Golden State. Coming off a loss, they've had 2 days off, no travel. It's like a really good spot for Golden State. Yeah, like I said, it's going to be more.
I think it's last of a 5-game homestand too, Kyle. Yeah. Like they haven't had to travel at all.
They're rested. They're ready. Yeah, it's a square line. Don't care. I'm on Golden State.
Steve Kerr makes me want to just bludgeon things, though. I mean, these rotations. Have you looked at this lately? Back-to-back starts for Quinn Post, playing like no minutes. Trace Jackson Davis, DNP CD last time out. I mean, what is even going on? He played 6 and 9 minutes in his last 2 starts. I mean, from a prop perspective, best of luck to everybody involved. We are all screwed.
He's instilling discipline. Maybe one day you'll learn. All right, next one.
Maybe one day you'll learn, he says. Next up, Phoenix, Portland. Okay, so hear me out. From a handicapping perspective, because how you're supposed to do it, you handicap the game, you make the line, you bet accordingly, right? You bet accordingly when you have mathematical value. Based on the production we've seen the last month, this line should be probably Portland -1. I mean, Portland, you can make the argument they've been the better team against a stronger schedule over the last month. So how is there not value on a Portland +5 bet? There's just a lot of moving pieces here. First of all, they just beat Phoenix. They just caught Phoenix in a terrible spot. They were on a back-to-back with a travel. Phoenix, one of the worst teams on a back-to-back in the NBA. So these two teams just played a couple nights ago. Phoenix was on a back-to-back, just flew in with no days off. That's the best. That's if you want to play. If you play the Suns coming off a back-to-back with a travel 82 times, you're going 80-2 on the season. They're terrible in that spot. So they just caught the Suns in a terrible spot. Now the Suns are there in the same city with a day off, even though handicapping logic says this line should be closer to a pick. Portland's been playing great. I still think the Suns are about to beat the shit out of them. And I can't bet it because it's just doesn't make any sense. But like, just like the inner NBA fan in me is like, nah, this is where the Suns do them up. Even though I can't really prove it logically. What I'm saying, does it make any sense to you guys?
Yes, it does. What makes sense to me is don't bet this game. I think out of everything, again, I said I didn't have any games from this evening window. My big issue with this one is DeAndre Ayton. He's going to be out there playing pretty big minutes. I kind of looked at some of his overs, but looks like they've gotten pushed up. Looks as though there's a lot of people kind of getting that on their card and not in line with the number at the current moment. I mean, if Robert Williams ends up in, that would be a disaster for it because, you're kind of looking to get every minute you can out of it. You got Donovan Clingan there behind him. I think there's ways that they just kind of go towards more of that to give him looks. Ayton, it sounds like, is connected to potentially getting moved out as well. This is just one of those where it's like a wonky spot. I don't know what the minutes ceiling is for DeAndre Ayton being on the trade block right now, but I got to imagine you're not letting him go out there and play 34, 35 no matter what, especially with Clingan there. And then if Robert Williams shows up, somebody else that's connected to trade rumors, I don't think he plays for what it's worth, but I just think it's a really hard one to navigate on a week like this.
Someone said, so what you're saying is you're going with your gut. Kinda. The way you're supposed to do it is like, okay, this line is +5. It should be +3. So if this game is played 1,000 times, I should win X percentage. And at -110, that should net me X dollars. That's how you calculate if you're placing a valuable bet or not. So using that math, Portland should be the bet because this line should be like 1 or 2 based on recent production. But I got a feeling. I got a feeling that the Suns are going to beat the shit out of them.
3.8. But
do you have 3.8? Really?
3.8. I don't like it. Again, there's times where you plug it into the computer and it just spits out something you're not expecting.
100%.
So,
Sometimes I'll look at my score projections and be like, what? What about Chris?
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Kyle. I thought Portland was the right side the other day. I got gun shy, didn't pull the trigger. Seems like the perfect bounce back spot for Phoenix, but I'm with Lindy. Lindy said this sounds like a game you don't bet. I'm cool with not betting it either. Like, Portland is playing way too good right now for me to want to bet against them, but this is the classical bounce back spot for the Phoenix Suns in this game. And it makes a ton of sense, but I'm not putting my money on it. So I won't bore people. I will probably watch this game, maybe learn a couple things about it, but I'm not betting it. I do think
you're gonna watch it. You're gonna watch it over Golden State.
I am, yeah. I won't be betting that one, so I watch this one over that. Portland is really like Denny Avdia and Aiden
and Chauncey.
Yeah, like they. Not Chauncey, but yeah.
It's just that every time Scoot Henderson goes on a basketball floor, an angel loses its wings. So,
all right.
It's different without the goggles on too.
Before we do the community parlay, because it's been an hour 15 minutes, I don't want to keep you. You guys don't have to stay for that. Real quick, Lindy, tell people where they can find your stuff. And the Clones got a big one tonight, bro. Big Clones game tonight. Do you have any thoughts on the Clones?
Game still has me in a bad state of mind. Also, my first ever college basketball play that I've ever posted or did anything. Of course, it was Iowa State money line, half quarter 60-footer. I showed you the betting ticket. I was just I wanted to cry. I mean, I just jammed that spot. It was egregious. But anywho, we lose to 19 Kansas State. We need this one bad here on Monday. Go Clones. But you can follow me at Eric Lindquist over on X, Odd Chopper and Stochastic. I'm going to be on a fantasy show here in 45 minutes, breaking down DFS. I do that daily. NBA, MLB, NFL. Let's party. Thanks a lot for having me, Chris. Good to see you as always.
Chris, where can they find your stuff?
Yeah, good to see you as well, Indy. Over on Twitter or YouTube, whatever you want to, wherever. Like, just
your Twitter account's dead, bro. You never tweet anymore.
You're right. But if you wanted to follow me, you can follow my action over there. Some of it. I post maybe once a week. Like, yeah, I'm not.
What did Elon do?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. My Twitter, my presence on Twitter is definitely decreased. I don't tweet much anymore either. So I agree. All right, guys, have a good day. Hit the community parlay sign.
Alrighty.
Appreciate you, Kyle.
For the community becoming
All right, Prop, do you have an underdog today?
Yes, I did.
All right, I'll do the polls.
Okay. 1 second. Alrighty, so we got a 3-legger on the underdog. We've got Keegan Murray higher than 13.5 points plus assists. Tobias Harris higher than 14.5 points. And Andrew Nembhard, some call him Nemby, higher than 5.5 assists right there. The underdog promo of the day leading up to the Super Bowl is going to be Travis Kelce higher than a half total yard. So if you don't like one of the legs, if you want to make your payout potentially a bit juicier, you can add Travis Kelce over a half total yard if you are a new customer. And if you're not a new customer yet and would like to sign up, you could sign up in one of these lovely yellow states using the promo code BET and get a deposit match up to $1,000. Last thing I just want to point out, on Sunday, there is going to be a no sweat entry offered by Underdog. So essentially, you get one entry, and if you lose your entry, you're going to get your money back in bonus credit. Yes, so it's either you win your entry or you get that money back in bonus credit. So it is literally no sweat. So thought to mention that to you guys. Again, promo code BETBET if you would like to sign up. So let's get this community parlay going.
First leg of the community parlay is the Pistons money line. I think I'm going to add the Nuggets minus 10.5. I like what Lindy said about the defense. That I felt like that was...
Guy capped that game well. The Strawther play, rock solid.
And I agreed. Like, I was on board with the Nuggets are going to score back at home against the Pelicans defense. I was already on that, but you add in the fact that the Nuggets were playing better defense before they went on the road trip, so maybe back home they start playing defense. Then you add on the fact that the Nuggets' defensive rating improves when Westbrook's off the floor. All of a sudden, Pelicans team total under maybe. It emerged from the shadows.
Yeah. My one concern for your guys' Timberwolves team total over is my friend Keon Ellis coming out the woodworks and showing y'all what real defense is.
I'm just going to hit end poll because all 4 of these are like locked.
Okay.
Nuggets money line. I might have influenced that while I was talking. So the last poll we'll do. Oh no, they like the Blazers. So Warriors money line, Blazers money line. We'll put Timberwolves money line back in. And we'll put Thunder money line back in. First and second place will complete the community parlay. First and second place of this poll. Cast your votes. Cast your votes. Oh, new betting league is up for this week. So if you're trying to get into the betting league this week, make sure you submit your picks. You have an hour and 41 minutes to do so. This is a new week. We're all starting at 0. So if you want to get in on it this week, 7 p.m. is the deadline. It's 3 picks tonight. How it works, if you don't know what the betting league is, you submit picks every night. You get assigned a division, so you're competing against the other people in your division. If you win your division, you compete on Sunday in the championship. Congrats to Tinker. He got his second or third championship already, Tinker.
Well, guess what, Tinker? None of those championships count because I wasn't in the fucking league.
Well, maybe
yet.
you should submit some picks and get in this week.
Well, I submitted my first picks today.
Oh, you got in the league today.
Yeah,
all
so
right.
Tinker, you better be ready, buddy, because those rings come with asterisks.
Tinker's a competitor. He's in the playoffs all the time. He almost always wins his division. Him and Jay Steve's. There's some secret sharps in that league, man. They don't talk much, but they're like always in the running.
All right, well, I'm coming for blood.
Warriors money line and Thunder money line complete the Thunder money line, dude.
Yeah, let's see what that comes in at. All right.
And Nuggets money line. This is gonna pay nothing.
Okay. I do hope for negative odds.
It's gonna be like plus 121.
Well, the Pistons help. They're pretty short, minus 180. So Pistons,
Warriors are kind of short too.
Nuggets, Warriors.
I got it. It's plus 225.
Okay.
Plus 225 is the community parlay. Thanks, everyone, for watching. I don't know if we're going to do a midnight show tonight because Toast is traveling. He's flying right now, but he might be home. He told me he would, so we'll see. But, yeah, hit me up in the Discord if you need me. Get your picks in for the league, blah, blah.